Hey, hope you're well. This is Matthew here. I'm just going to do a quick run through of my PB here on Split Oval. This run is a 45195. At the time of upload, I think it's ranked 6th. And I'm just going to go over some details real quick and hopefully it'll be of some use to someone. For starters, just a quick note on ship color. This seems to be a thing with Casino Palace tracks. I think Brave was the first one. Pick Yellow Shark because it contrasts a bit better with the track. Just a little detail, but it might help you. Don't use purple or green shark because they're ugly, please. So basically there's two real parts to this track. There's hitting the boosters and there's getting the jump. Hitting the boosters, obviously you're going for edge boost the whole way. This section of 3 isn't too difficult to get all of them. I would recommend really to most people to at least want to get these. It's not necessary with this track to get all the boosters, as you'll find out. Like pretty much whatever level you're at almost. But for most people it's going to be quite beneficial to get these. Unless you're like at a fairly low level and you're still a bit uncomfortable with doing clean quick turns with Fat Shark. So like really when it comes to Fat Shark control, the basics apply and this is a good track to really optimize those basics. So if you're unaware, basically with Fat Shark you want to minimize stick turning. You want to just use quick turns as much as possible. And, you know, slide about as little as you can with these quick turns. So ideally, you would just be doing quick turn, straight line, quick turn, straight line, and on the whole way through the track. In practice, this is pretty difficult to do. So you'll have to inevitably do some little adjustments with the stick or with the trigger. But that's at least what you should be aiming for. Now, sorry, let me go back. Missed it. So this little patch of 3 boosters is fine. Normally, like you will hit the left wall, but it's not too bad. This section of 3 boosters is a different story, however, because they're a bit closer together, and you need to be really clean to even get use out of them. I was going for these 3 until I watched Z-Wings run, who's ranked 2nd on this track, and he doesn't go for this one on any lap. You'll notice with some other top runs, I think Supersonic maybe goes for this on 2 laps, so not the 3rd one. And there's nobody, as far as I know, that has a run that cleanly gets all the boosters on all laps. And this seems like a good one to leave out for the sake of just being a bit more consistent. Because like I said, there's not a massive benefit from it. And if you can get 2nd without going for it, unless you're actually going for the record, it's probably a good idea just leave it out. So what you want to do then is hit this booster, quick turn into this one. I'll just play through what I do first of all, and then I'll go back. So with mine, it's not a particularly good example because I didn't do the cleanest of quick turns. You'll notice I had to do little adjustments. But really what you want is to quick turn here. You're driving straight for this booster. You want to hit this booster, then quick turn again before this one. Now this isn't necessary. It should be slightly faster though. You might find it simpler to just drive in a straight line from the boost you've passed, straight through this, and then straight through this, maybe with a bit of stick adjustment. I think that's what Supersonic does. I didn't, like, it is a little bit more inconsistent to do a quick turn here, but I just kind of like it, you know? And that's what Z-Wing does, who I was mainly copying. After this one, doing a quick turn here is, I think, pretty much what most people do at a high enough level. It might be helpful as well, and I don't think it's necessarily detrimental to, you know, don't be afraid to have a bit of an angle here. So you're doing a bit of a bigger quick turn because you might find that easier. I know I do, because doing like little minuscule quick turns is really quite difficult with the ship, especially at speed. So don't be afraid to open up an angle as long as you're just doing one quick turn and then driving in straight lines. That's really what you're aiming for. So here, you're just aiming for edge boosts. This couple of boosters here is quite important actually, because on this track you really, at least with this jump strat I'm going to show you, you really want to be going as fast as you can. And hitting 2 boosters here, and hitting 2 edge boosts in particular, is such a big deal and really helps. If you miss the first booster and hit the second one, you know, you can often get away with it, particularly on boost laps. But if you hit the first one and miss the second one, you tend to run out of speed right before this booster, and that's just a killer. So it's really worth taking special effort to make sure you actually hit these. And yeah, if you're like me, you'll find yourself being often quite annoyed that you, for some reason, miss one of them. But the main meat of this is the jump, so I'm going to play through what I do and then I'll go back. I'll play it one more time. So that's a solid example of a jump. The lap until this point wasn't terribly good, but there's nothing too wrong with this jump. Now, in terms of the inputs of this jump, your best bet is to watch Supersonic's run because he has input display and he's doing the same jump strat I do. What you're basically aiming to do is hold right for a bit on the stick, hold left for a bit longer on the stick, and then when you take off, it's just like a regular jump. You start strafing and you let go of A. This jump is a strange one because the faster you're going, the easier it is. Like generally, on laps, what you want it to be seeing around here is to be like 2150 or more. That it's quite difficult on lap 1. But on boost laps, if you can get this kind of speed, this jump does become easier. If you're at low speeds, I find this jump quite difficult with this strat. So with that in mind, I would only really recommend it to people who are pretty comfortable getting at least above 2100 in that section, ideally above 2150. If you're going over 2200, you're flying. you're grand, don't worry about it. For a long time I had difficulty with this jump because I feel like I was really overanalyzing it in terms of inputs. Like, yes, you want to go to the right and go to the left, but I think it might be harmful to you to start focusing so much on, oh, you know, I need to go to exactly this spot to the right of the track. I need to hold right just this little bit. I think if you're familiar with the basics of the jump, that is, you know, strafing left and letting go of A on the lift off, then all you should really worry about is just the timing of when you start going right and left. Don't worry about anything else because you're probably doing it okay. If you're familiar, like if you've jumped on this track before, even with a different strat. So I was stressing about this so much and it just turned out I was doing the little right to left movement a little bit too late, and that's why I was constantly flying too wide. So as far as I see it, there's basically 3 results. If you go too early with going right and then left, you will just crash into this wall. And it looks quite pitiful. It looks like, oh god, I was nowhere near to lifting off there. But really, I think you're probably very close to being good if that happens. The second bad result is that you fly too far to the right. This is what happens when you leave the movement too late. So when it comes to getting the timing right, you don't want to do it immediately after the booster unless you're going extremely fast, like 2200 plus. You want to pause like a little bit, but in terms of the timing, it's something you need to feel out for yourself. I feel like you're basically looking to clear this barrier as little as possible. And if you're still having difficulty with it, I find it's useful to visualize this, not in terms of inputs, but in terms of what you're actually trying to do. So why are you going right and then left? You're looking to lift off here, like facing as much to the left as possible. Because if you're facing right, you're just not going to be able to come back to the track in time. So you want to have as much of the track as possible to use when it comes to turning to the left. And if you leave it too late, you're just going to lift off before you go the whole way across the track. So your ship's going to be mid-turn, and that's why you fly off too far to the right. So if you get it just right on time, you get a good width of the track to move across as you're turning the whole way. So by the time you lift off, if you get a perfect jump, you're lifting off right before this barrier, and you're pretty much facing to the left. And these are like the ideal jumps where you're basically just going up and then down. You don't have to strafe a mile to the left just to get back onto the track. I think my second lap jump is a better example of this. So I would urge you not to stress too much about, am I holding right the right amount of time? It's really just a kind of flick to the right. You're basically looking to lose grip so you can turn to the left and try to get as much of a leftward angle on your ship as possible before you lift off. And visualizing it like this kind of helped me, because when I was struggling with this jump, I was just kind of thinking, am I holding right for long enough? Am I going to the right of the track far enough? Am I letting go of L too soon? Am I letting go of A too soon? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's probably best to just get rid of the idea of specific inputs in your mind and just focus on what you're actually trying to do. At least that's what's helped me. And lastly, just as a note, I always try to hit the center of this booster. Again, that was just me copying the top runs, but yeah, I don't know if anyone hits the edge booster, to be honest. Hitting the center just seems to help with your positioning of what you want to do here. So once you lift off, like I say, you let go of A. You don't need to let go of A right when you lift off either. Like as you can see here, I don't even fully let go until around here. It's more just a case of reacting to let go of A once you see yourself lifting off. I don't think you need to be too precise. And then you're strafing in the air, you're holding up left. In Sanic's run, you'll see with the input display, he's holding directly up left. I think I was almost holding more just generally left, but it's another thing I think it'd be best just going on what feels natural to you. If you find yourself having weird looking jumps where you're not getting a load of speed through the air, then maybe then it's worth focusing on your input. But generally, you're going to be holding a direction that feels natural. I mean, look at the way you're trying to go here. You're basically looking to point your nose down and go to the left, so you're going to naturally end up holding up left pretty much. Another note here is that it's a bit of a misleading jump, because you would think you need to press A a lot earlier than you do. All the top runs just do A as a little tap like this right before they land, and I just kind of copied that, of course. So if you're landing anything around 1900 to 2000, you're in good shape. So just a little tap. If you have a jump that goes too wide, you have to come back at an angle. Just do a little quick turn as you land, and you're good to go. And one boost, pretty much after landing. You don't want to be boosting into the landing, just land first, then boost, I believe. And you're doing much the same then. In a weird way, I find hitting these boosters to be a little easier on boost laps. I don't know if that's just in my head or what. But otherwise, it's the exact same strat as before. And I promise you, with this strat, this jump is easier at higher speeds. So on boost laps, it's easier than it is on lap 1. And I think here's a good example of, I can kind of frame advance here. Look how close I am to the bar when I'm lifting off here. I think this is basically ideal. I might be wrong on this, but this gets a lift off where there's just not too much strafing involved. And like, I'm basically landing straight. You can get an even nicer looking jump like this where you are just 100% straight when you land. But there's barely any angle at all on this landing. And this was like my fastest lap. It's a dumb mistake there, missing that booster, but everything else is much the same as you can imagine. When it comes to the ending here, if you land earlier than this, I don't really know what to do. I guess you can try to get a real side. I've never really pulled one off because I've always just been too flustered about just trying to finish a run. This was kind of nice, this run, because I just landed right before the finish line and I didn't even have time to do anything. But that's pretty much all there is to say. It's a basic track, but the elements that make it up can be hard to get used to. So just bash out attempts with that jump. And like I say, don't get hung up too much on the inputs. Just go based on feel. If you're hitting the wall to the left here, you're probably just going too soon with the right-left movement. If you're flying too far wide and can't make it back, you're probably going too late with it. Unless you're doing something like very obviously wrong, like, I don't know, holding A way too early or pressing it way too late or something. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Good luck with your jumps. And yeah, thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.